Hey, what's going on, my friends? Patrick here, back today with another video. Today I've got a quick little guitar sounds, music production tutorial. Kind of a little bit of both, but I have been having just a blast with my MIDI guitar here. This is the Jamstik Studio. MIDI guitars have obviously been around for a long time, but the Jamstik Studio is a pretty new device, and it's certainly a new addition to my arsenal of music making tools. I've been having a lot of fun tracking this as a guitar and simultaneously tracking it as a MIDI instrument. You can come up with some really cool sounds, some really cool different textures. So today I wanted to break down one sound in particular that's been showing up in a lot of my tracks. I'm going to show you how to create this in Logic. It's super simple. Obviously, this tutorial is going to help out fellow Jamstik users probably the most, but if you have a MIDI guitar or you're just interested in coming up with some cool and funky sounds for your productions, stick around. But that's enough intro. Let's jump into Logic. So like I stated earlier, we are going to be recording our MIDI guitar, in this case the Jamstik Studio, as both a guitar and a MIDI device. Pretty straightforward stuff. That being said, we're going to need to set up two different tracks. So our first track is a guitar track. This is a tutorial I've done on the channel before. Really simple, straightforward way to get that John Mayer, Tom Misch, auto wah envelope filter tone. So the first thing you're going to want to set up is the Pedalboard plugin. You go down to Amps and Pedals, you select Pedalboard. And the two pedals you're going to want to grab are this squash compressor and then this auto funk pedal. I like to run the compressor before the envelope filter just to squash everything together, add a little more consistency to those notes that are passing through the envelope filter. Now you want to set your switches on your auto funk pedal to look like mine. And then what you're going to want to play around with are these sensitivity and cutoff knobs. These two settings will vary depending on what kind of pickups you're using, what position your switch is in, even where you're playing on the neck. So you're going to want to play around with the sensitivity and cutoff knobs to get the sound that you're looking for. For this guitar, these settings are kind of right where I like them. That's probably the most crucial part of this guitar sound. Here on out, you can kind of make your own creative choices, but the next plugin you're going to want to use is some sort of amp designer. Believe it or not, I like Logic's amp designer. I've kind of always used it. I almost always select this large black panel amp within Logic's amp designer. Obviously, as you can tell by the design, it's got that Fender Blackface or Fender Twin sound. I really dig it. It's just like a nice neutral guitar amp sound. And then for the cabinet, I play around with these. Obviously here I'm using the Studio 1x12, kind of a Mesa Boogie sound. Play around with these. I also really like the British 2x12. And I also use pretty frequently the black panel 4x10. You can play around with the mics too and the different mic placement. Again, these are all just gonna make minor tweaks to the overall sound, so I wouldn't obsess over this. And then for compression and EQ, you're gonna wanna tweak these just to help you achieve the sound that you're looking for. As a rough guideline, I do like to use this Studio FET compressor. Play around with these, see which one sounds best to you. But with this guitar part, I do kind of keep the ratio between 3 and 5. Usually the sweet spot is somewhere in there. It's obviously going to vary with every guitar part that you record, but again, play around with this. Feel free to use my settings if you want and kind of tweak from there. And then EQ, of course, you're going to want to boost and attenuate and make all of those choices just based on your track, based on the particular guitar recording that you put down. Based on my experience with this guitar sound, I will say you may want to pay attention to the 200 to 500 hertz range. I do find that you get a lot of that low end and low mid muddiness, so just pay attention for that. Now, just a few bonus things that you may want to add for taste. RC20 is getting to be a bit overused, but I still really love it. You can add in all sorts of different character and modulation and distortion and reverb. I'm not gonna go too deep into RC20, but it's a plugin that I really like and I put it on most of my guitar tracks. So definitely check that out if you're interested. And then of course, adding in some reverb and delay. The Valhalla Vintage Verb is just kind of tough to beat. It's a great sounding reverb plugin at a super low price. And I also like to bust out just a little bit of delay. I like the Echo Boy or the Echo Boy Jr. from Sound Toys, but you can use whatever delay plugin you want. But that pretty much wraps up the guitar portion of this sound. So let's get into the synth portion. Now for this synth sound, you can really use whatever plugin you like. I find that a lot of vintage synth plugins with some sort of a filter either on them or built in usually work really well. If you're just working with Logic stock plugins, the Retro Synth plugin is a great place to start. This vintage synth brass preset's pretty cool. Play with the cutoff and the resonance of your filter, kind of like we did with the Autofunk pedal. That could be a good place to start if you are using the Jamstik. There's a preset in the Jamstik Creator plugin called Groovy Nights, and that's the sound that I use. I like to come down here and go up 1 octave. From there, I don't really do too much more to process this. A little more RC20, because why not? And then this synth sound, I'll kind of bury slightly beneath the guitar sound. So the synth sound is kind of there to add to the guitar sound. But when you got everything done and mixed together, it sounds like this. My friends, that is going to wrap up today's quick little MIDI guitar sounds tutorial. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully you got some ideas for your own music. But listen, my friends, until next time, my name's Patrick. I'll catch you real soon, all right? Peace.